Oh, hi. Hello. What's up, Greek? How's it going? Hey, Darth Claire. Nice of you to join. What's up, Wing Chun boys? Glad to see you here. Hey, Dan. How's it going? Nikki. What's up, Nikki? Oh, 6:01. I'm not late, okay? I'm not late. 1 minute is not late. 1 minute is totally on time. I have a huge headache. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. It's not COVID, just a headache. At least I think it's not. I hope it's not. When I got the booster shot like a few months ago, um, I did get a headache the day after, and I got super tired. Yeah, so I just spent like a couple hours in bed. What's up, slippery noodle? Hey, walking sprout. Hey, you finally tried boba. How's it going? How was your first boba experience? How did you feel when you popped your boba cherry? Yeah. Speaking of COVID, how's the Omicron variant doing, guys? How's it going? Let's see. I feel like we're all gonna get it, right? Do you guys feel? I think since it's so infectious, I feel like we're all gonna get it. Let's see. What do I search? How is Omicron doing? No. COVID. Oh, pretty bad. This is cases. There's a lot of cases. Like it's huge, but I think the deaths are very low. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a new wave, but then since the uh, Omicron variant is much less deadly, and we found out a lot of ways to we have the vaccines and we have ways to take care of it now. So I think we're dealing it with it pretty well. But yeah, I feel like we're all gonna get it at some point, right, guys? I feel like it's so infectious. I believe they say it's about 18 times more infectious than the normal, like the normal variant. You caught COVID and you're vaxxed and boosted. Yeah, like I feel like we're all gonna get it at some point. Even though the vaccinations do help, it's much less effective. Whoa! Another rando on the internet just became an emperor patron or member. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. What else? I want to look at how the James Webb Space Telescope is doing. So, yeah, so the telescope, they've launched it. It's great. It launched without any problems. And if you don't know, so the James Webb Space Telescope is this compact thing, right? And they shoot it into space, and when it gets into position, I think it takes like 6 months or something for it to become ready, right? So it's this compact thing, and then it just opens up, like the sun shield. It opens up this sun shield and solar panels or whatever. Like it opens up like a flower, right? And then yeah, it takes a lot of time, like 6 months or something for it to get ready. But when it becomes ready, ooh boy. Do, 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 do. Yeah, this thing has been in the works for like decades, or at least 1 decade, I think. So hopefully nothing goes wrong. Yeah. The problem with this is that if something goes wrong, it's not like the Hubble, right? It's much farther away in space than the Hubble Space Telescope. With the Hubble, if something goes wrong, we can theoretically go and fix it, right? We've done it before. But with this thing, you can't fix it. If something goes wrong, it's done. You can't fly astronauts over there to fix anything, right? I think you messed up your Patreon account because it shows that it's separate from my YouTube account. I don't think Patreon ties in with YouTube, does it? I don't think so. They're separate. So if you're a patron, I won't know it just by your YouTube account. Yeah, nothing I can do about that. All right, I have some chips today. These are Calbee hot and spicy potato chips. All right, let's see how hot and spicy you are. Usually these things are not hot and spicy at all. But we'll see. Ooh. All right. All right. Not bad. It tastes like, what does it taste like? I do taste some hot pepper flavor. It's not spicy at all. But there is that pepper flavor. That red pepper flavor. Pretty good. I can eat this. Like an 8 out of 10. Rated 8 out of 10. You buff some Korean honey butter chips? Ooh, that sounds good. Where can you get it at? If you have like an Asian market or a Japanese market near you. If you don't, then I guess you're out of luck. Or try Amazon, maybe? Yeah. I bought these from this Asian market nearby. Which is awesome. If you have a Japanese market nearby, it's awesome. I've got great chip eating form. What do you mean? How do you eat chips? I eat them one by one. All right. I don't make a mess. Like I don't grab them by the palm. I've seen people do that. I can't. I don't understand. I don't understand how you can do that. I just don't. I don't want anything, any food or oils or anything to get on my palm. Okay. I need as little contact with oil as possible. I use like 2 fingers. This is how I eat. It's almost like barbecue flavored Lay's. Have you had that? Yeah. It's almost like that. Just a little tiny bit of a hint of spiciness. But that's all. Dainty eater? True. Do I study history in school? No. This started out as just a hobby. So I actually was an engineer. I studied engineering in school. And this is a total switch from that. But yeah, it's been cool. Yeah. Been cool so far. So you use chopsticks when you eat chips? Okay, that's a little too far. That's a little too far, Joker. Like, even I don't do that. Okay, at least I use my hands. um, I know people who don't eat it straight from the bag. They put it, they pour it out onto a bowl and then they eat that. Okay, so that's a little bit. I'm not that bad. Okay, I eat it straight from the bag. Yeah, but I've never used chopsticks. That's crazy. You are a barbarian. You're crazy. But it's okay. I guess you don't have to wipe your hands or anything. True. It does keep your fingers clean. All right. What are we doing? What are we doing? Ajax, you love the channel? Awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. You use forks to eat yours? Okay, yeah. Now you're just messing with me. All right. Let's go. What happened last week? All right, last chapter. What happened was our hero, Duan Yu, his mother, and Mu Wanqing, his new wife, arrive at the imperial palace of Dali, right? And they meet Duan Yu's father, and seems like his mother is still mad at his father for some reason we don't know yet. But she refuses to talk to him. We also meet Duan Yu's uncle, who is the emperor of Dali, right? So we find out. It turns out that Duan Yu is an imperial prince or the son of a prince. Does that make you a prince? No, right? Yeah. So he's like the son of a prince of Dali. So he's really high up there, right? Mu Wanqing didn't know that. She just found out, and she's in court. She doesn't know all the protocols of the court, right? So she's like acting naive and stuff. But because of it, her uncle, Duan Yu's uncle, seems to like Mu Wanqing, right? So she seems like this pleasant girl from the forest or whatever. So they have a nice time. They talk, and then they're interrupted by Divine Croc, right? The Divine Croc, he comes into the palace. Yeah, he arrives at the palace to try to take Duan Yu because it's his supposed apprentice, right? He wants Duan Yu to be his apprentice. They decide to have a battle. Duan Yu decides to fight with Divine Croc. If he wins, then the Croc has to become his apprentice. All right, that's the rules. And also part of the rules is that they agree on is that he only needs to dodge 3 attacks from the Croc in order to win, right? Because the Divine Croc said, "Oh, I bet you can't even withstand one of my attacks," right? So he's like, "Okay, I'll dodge 3 of your attacks, okay? And if I do that, then I'll win." So they fight. Duan Yu uses the martial arts running style or whatever that he learned from the secret manual, and then he actually dodges 3 attacks, right? But the Croc refuses to lose, and he tries to fight again. Duan Yu is scared, but he still fights, and his father's like, "Go ahead, just keep fighting, okay? Don't worry about it." So he fights, but when he gets into trouble, because he does, his father uses his legendary Yi Yang finger technique, okay? Called the Yi Yang finger technique. He kind of shoots something from his finger or whatever, I don't know. And he infuses his chi into Duan Yu to counter the Divine Croc's chi, right? And somehow he wins. All right, so Duan Yu wins, and the Divine Croc, being a man of his word, he kowtows to Duan Yu, and he becomes his apprentice. All right. And then the Croc is embarrassed, so he escapes from the palace, but not before killing one of the, like a random guard on the way out. So, feel bad for the guard, but just kills one on the way out. And that's where we ended. All right. How's that? Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, he got his heart ripped out. That guard got his heart ripped out. What's up, Katie? You're not late. You're just on time. True. Doom, 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 doom. All right, you ready? Chapter 7. Helplessly regret being unfaithful, or boundless regrets of profligate love. Why do they have titles like that? Duan Zhengchun and the others. So Duan Zhengchun is his father. Duan Yu's father, I believe. Duan Zhengchun and the others returned to his palace, where a feast had been prepared. And at the banquet table, aside from Duan Zhengchun and his wife, and Duan Yu and Mu Wanqing, no one else was present save the servants, which numbered 17 or 18. In her entire life, how could Mu Wanqing have seen or experienced such splendor and luxury? She had neither heard of nor ever seen any of the dishes which were being presented. She saw that Duan Zhengchun and his wife were treating her like a member of the family. It were as though 2 generations of husband and wife were happily dining together. Her affection was won by this display. Okay, so that's good. Looks like they like her. His parents like her. So there's gonna be no conflict in the family, right? None at all. Which is good. Good news for Duan Yu. Duan Yu saw that his mother was continuing to treat his father somewhat coolly. She neither drank nor ate any meat. The only dishes she touched were some vegetarian dishes. Duan Yu poured... Well, she is a nun, right? So, I mean, she can't eat meat or drink. Duan Yu poured out a cup of wine, then, holding it with both hands, rose to his feet. Mother, your son would like to offer you a cup. My respectful congratulations on you and father reconciling. Finally, our family of 3 can enjoy domestic bliss again. Definition of profligate? No, I know the definition. I definitely know the definition of profligate. It means being wasteful. Like if you're doing something in a wasteful manner, that's profligate means. Ding, 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 ding. Ah! Exactly the word, okay. Wasteful. Recklessly extravagant or wasteful in the use of resources. Perfect. I'm like a human dictionary. The sage of the hollow jade, that's his mom, replied, I don't drink wine. Duan Yu poured out yet another cup of wine, then winked towards Mu Wanqing. Miss Mu would also like to offer you a cup. Taking the cup with both hands, Mu Wanqing also rose to her feet. The sage of the hollow jade felt that it wouldn't be appropriate to act so coldly towards Mu Wanqing. She let out a small smile. Miss, this son of mine is Miss. How does the voice go again? How did I do her voice? Excuse me. Miss, this son of mine is extremely naughty. We, his parents, aren't able to control him. In the future, you'll have to help us to keep him under control. Mu Wanqing replied, If he's disobedient, I'll grab him by the ears and beat him. The sage of the hollow jade let out a surprised laugh, then glanced at her husband out of the corner of her eye. Duan Zhengchun laughed. That's how it should be. The sage of the hollow jade extended her left hand to accept the wine cup from Mu Wanqing. Underneath the flickering candlelight, Mu Wanqing saw that her hand was delicate and fine, as clear and lustrous as fine jade. On the back of the sage's hand, she saw some sort of mark, as red as the color of blood. Mu Wanqing's entire body began to tremble. Your name, is your name Dao Baifeng? The sage of the hollow jade smiled. My family name is very rare and unusual. How did you know? Mu Wanqing's voice shook. You are Dao Baifeng. You are Dao Baifeng, a woman of the Bai Yi tribe. Once you wielded a soft whip as your weapon. Am I right? The sage of the hollow jade saw that her expression seemed strange, but didn't harbor any misgivings against the girl. Smiling, she said, "You were is really good to you. He even told you my full name. Your husband is also half Bai Yi, which is probably why he acts so wildly." Mu Wanqing asked, "You truly are Dao Baifeng?" The sage of the hollow jade smiled a little. "Yes, I am." Mu Wanqing shouted, "A master's benevolence is very profound. A master's orders cannot be disobeyed." With the lift of her right hand, she shot out 2 poisoned quarrels towards Dao Baifeng's chest. During the banquet, the 4 of them had talked and laughed together as though they were a part of one family. Who could have foreseen that Mu Wanqing would suddenly attack? Oh. What's up, DJ? Hi. Stop spamming. Stop spamming the chat. Come on. Dao Baifeng's martial arts were roughly at the same level as Mu Wanqing to begin with, but at this moment, the distance between them was extremely short, and this attack was so unexpected that she wasn't able to defend herself. It seemed as though those 2 poisoned quarrels would hit her no matter what. Duan Zhengchun was sitting on the other side of the table, behind Mu Wanqing. He called out, "Aiya!" and he immediately struck out with a finger, but this finger could only hit Mu Wanqing and could not save his wife. Duan Yu had seen Mu Wanqing kill people with those poisoned quarrels many times, and knew that the venom was extremely lethal. In a very short time, the victim's blood would coagulate and choke off the victim's throat. As soon as he saw her wave her sleeves, he immediately knew something was wrong. He was sitting by his mother's side, but unfortunately did not know any martial arts. There was no way for him to deflect this attack. He sprang to his feet, immediately executing his graceful steps upon the waves. With a slanting horizontal motion, he quickly positioned himself in front of his mother. Boom! Boom! The 2 poisoned quarrels struck him directly in the middle of his stomach. At the same time, Mu Wanqing's back and heart suddenly felt numb, and she fell face first towards the table, unable to move. Off to a bad start with the in-laws. Not daughter-in-law, not making a good first impression. This is not how you should react. Duan Zhengchun, seeing the desperate situation, flew towards Duan Yu and immediately sealed the 8 acupoints surrounding the area where Duan Yu had been struck by the quarrels. This would prevent the poison from spreading throughout the rest of his body for a time. With a flip of his hand and a cracking sound, he immediately dislocated Mu Wanqing's right arm, preventing her from firing off any more quarrels. Then he unsealed her acupoints. In a stern voice, he said, "Give me the antidote." Mu Wanqing's voice trembled. I only wanted to kill Dao Baifeng. I didn't want to harm my darling Duan." Resisting the pain from her dislocated right arm, she reached towards the bosom of her clothes and withdrew 2 bottles filled with an extract of flowers. "The antidote in the red bottle should be taken internally, and the antidote with the white bottle, or antidote in the white bottle, should be applied externally. Hurry! If you take too long, we won't be able to save him." Dao Baifeng saw that her concern for Duan Yu was genuine and unfeigned. She had already roughly guessed the reasons behind the girl's actions. Stretching out her hand, she immediately snatched the medicine. She placed 2 red pills within her son's mouth. Oh, he's red-pilled. The other bottle was filled with a white powder. She grabbed the end of the quarrels and lightly pulled the 2 out, then applied a layer of the medicinal powder on top of the wound. Mu Wanqing said, "Thank heaven! His life won't be in danger now. Otherwise, I... The 3 people were extremely anxious. They did not know that Duan Yu had consumed the king of 10,000 poisons. the cinnabar toad, and that he was immune to all poisons. Oh, wait, what? Really? Really? They just revealed it to us, like, just like that? Okay. So apparently he's, Duan Yu is immune to all poisons now, because he ate that toad. The venom on Mu Wanqing's quarrels couldn't do anything to him. Even if the antidote had not been applied, he would have been fine. However, after being shot with the quarrel, Duan Yu felt twinges of pain in his chest. After seeing the lethal effectiveness of the poisoned quarrels so many times, Duan Yu truly believed that he was definitely going to die. In his panic, he fainted within his mother's arms. Oh. Watching carefully, Duan Zhengchun and his wife noticed that within a twinkling of the eye, the color of the blood flowing from Duan Yu's wound had changed. First, it had changed from black to purplish, then it had turned from purplish to red. Only now did they let out a sigh of relief, knowing that their son's life was saved. Dao Baifeng carried her son to his bedroom and covered him with a quilt. She took his pulse and felt that his pulse was strong and steady. There wasn't the slightest sign of any weakness, causing her to be extremely happy. So assured, she returned once more to the dinner hall. Duan Zhengchun asked, "No problems?" Dao Baifeng did not answer. Instead, she turned to Mu Wanqing and said, "Go tell the Asura saber, Qin Hongmian." As soon as Duan Zhengchun heard the 6 words, the Asura saber Qin Hongmian, he said, You. Dao Baifeng paid no mind to her husband, continuing to address Mu Wanqing. "Tell her that if she wants to take my life, she should make her attempts openly and honestly. Acting with such maliciousness and deceptiveness, isn't she afraid that people will laugh their heads off?" Mu Wanqing replied, I don't know who this Asura saber Qin Hongmian is." Baffled, Dao Baifeng asked, "Then who is it that ordered you to kill me?" Mu Wanqing said, "My master. She ordered me to kill 2 people. The first person was you. She told me I could identify you with a red mark on your hand. She told me that you are named Dao Baifeng, are of the Bai Yi tribe, are very beautiful, and wield a soft whip as your weapon. She didn't tell me that you dressed up like a nun. I saw that your weapon was a fly whisk and are called the Sage of Hollow Jade. I never thought that you are the person whom Master wishes to kill, much less that you are Duan Yu's mother." And as she finished, teardrops cascaded down her face. Okay, so who is her master? Dao Baifeng said, "The second person your master asked you to kill. Is it the lovely Yaksha Gan Bao Bao?" Mu Wanqing replied, No. The lovely Yaksha Gan Bao Bao is my martial uncle." Not literally uncle. Like, martial uncle is like a senior. She sent people to deliver a message to my master. She said that 2 people had caused great pain to my master all her life, and that this great wrong must be avenged no matter what. Dao Baifeng said, "Ah, I understand. The other woman is surnamed Wang and lives in Suzhou, right?" Surprised, Mu Wanqing said, "Right. How did you know? I went with my master to Suzhou to kill her, but this evil woman had a lot of flunkies under her command. Her dwelling was also very strange. Not only was I unable to find her, but her flunkies chased me away, all the way to Dali instead." Duan Zhengchun listened with his head bowed. The color of his face alternated from blue to red. Okay. So remember, The woman's surname Wang. We already met, right? Wait, did we? I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting who she is now. Wang is the woman that Guan Yu met, right? The woman whose husband is jealous of his father. Am I right in that? Or was that Gan Bao Bao? I forget. Duan Zhengchun listened with his head bowed. The color of his face alternated from blue to red. A tear suddenly rolled down Dao Baifeng's cheek. She said towards Duan Zhengchun, "Please take good care of Yuer and instruct him well. I'm leaving now." Duan Zhengchun said, "Dearest Phoenix, that's all in the past. Why are you taking it to heart?" Dao Baifeng said softly, "You aren't taking it to heart, but I am, and so are other people." Suddenly, her body flew into the air, and she leapt towards a window. Oh, we haven't met Wang yet? Oh, okay. So Gan Bao Bao is the woman that Duan Yu met before. Okay, gotcha. With the weird husband. And she is the mother of shit. What is the other girl's name? I'm forgetting everything. I have a headache, okay, guys? I have a headache. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. She's the mother of the other girl. The other girl. Who's the other girl? What is her name? Zhongling. Thank you. Yeah. So that's the mother of Zhongling that he met before. Anyways, so his mother is mad. She runs away. Duan Zhengchun extended his hand to grasp at her sleeve, but Dao Baifeng waved her own and shot a palm towards his face. Duan Zhengchun turned his face to avoid the blow. With a tearing sound, he ripped off half of her sleeves with his hand. Turning her head, Dao Baifeng said angrily, "Are you really intending to fight me?" Duan Zhengchun said, "Dearest Phoenix, you..." With a kick of her legs, Dao Baifeng shot into the air, landing on top of a nearby room. Within a few moments, she had already moved 100 feet away. From far away, Chu Wanli's voice could faintly be heard. "Who is it?" Dao Baifeng replied. "It's me." Chu Wanli said, "Ah, so it is the princess." After this, nothing more could be heard. Dao Baifeng was far away. Duan Zhengchun sadly remained standing for a long time. Then, with a sigh, he returned to the warm pavilion. He saw that Mu Wanqing's face was extremely pale, but that she had not fled. Duan Zhengchun reached out and took a hold of her right arm with his hands. With a ka sound, he popped her dislocated arm back in place. Mu Wanqing thought to herself, "I attacked his wife with poison quarrels. I wonder how he is going to torture me." But Duan Zhengchun only sat down, dispirited, and slowly poured himself a cup of tea. With a gu sound, he drained it all in one go. How's that a gu sound? Oh, like glug glug glug. Duan Zhengchun stared at the window from which his wife had fled, as though he were in a trance. After a long time passed, he slowly poured himself a second cup of tea. Gu. He drained this one in one go as well, pouring a cup, draining a cup. He repeated this 12 or 13 times. Oh, he's gonna have to pee a lot at night while he's sleeping. Poor guy. After finishing the pot of tea, he reached out and grabbed another pot, this one filled with wine. As with before, he poured very slowly, but drank extremely quickly. Finally, Mu Wanqing became impatient. "What type of strange, vicious way of punishing me are you devising? Whatever it is, hurry up and use it." Duan Zhengchun lifted his head to stare at her. After some time had passed, he shook his head and sighed. So similar. So very similar. I should have realized a long time ago. Your appearance, your temper. Mu Wanqing had no idea what he was babbling about. What are you talking about? She asked. You're full of rubbish. Duan Zhengchun did not reply. Rising to his feet, he sent a backwards palm with his left hand. With a swishing sound, a candle was extinguished by his palm wind. Whoa, an ad. The fuck? He immediately followed this with another backwards palm with his right hand. A second candle was unexpectedly snuffed out. In this manner, he sent out 5 palms behind him and extinguished 5 candles. All throughout, his gaze was towards the front, and yet the palms flowed out like rolling clouds or running water with natural ease. Mu Wanqing said in shock, This is the 5 gentle smoke palms. How do you know this skill? Duan Zhengchun laughed bitterly. Did your master teach it to you? Mu Wanqing said, My master told me that she would never teach this to anyone, and that she would take it to her coffin. Duan Zhengchun nodded. Well, she said that she would never teach it to anybody, and that she would take it to the grave. Mu Wanqing said, Right, but whenever she thought I wasn't watching, she would often practice this set of palms by herself, so I'm used to seeing it by now. Duan Zhengchun said, She would often practice this set of palm strokes by herself? Mu Wanqing nodded. Yes, every time after she was done practicing this set of palms, she would become very angry and curse me out. How is it that you know it as well? And it seems as though you've been more skilled in it than my master. Duan Zhengchun let out a sigh. This 5 gentle smoke palms was taught by me to your master. Mu Wanqing was shocked, but she couldn't help but believe him. She saw in the past that when her master practiced this art, that often there would be one candle that she couldn't extinguish, and would force her to have to send out a second or third palm. Her skill definitely was not as high as that of Duan Zhengchun, who exercised the set of palms as his heart desired, as though he were effortlessly wiping away wine. She stuttered, So you are my master's master. So you would be my grandmaster? No. Duan Zhengchun shook his head. No. Resting his cheek on one hand, he mused to himself. So, every time after she practiced this set of palms, she would be angry, and said that she wouldn't teach anyone this skill, and would take it to her grave. Mu Wanqing asked, Then you... Duan Zhengchun waved his hand, signaling for her to stop, asking. After a while, he suddenly asked, You are 18 this year. You were born in September, right? Mu Wanqing sprang to her feet. Shocked, she asked, How do you know everything about me? What relation do you have with my master? A look of great pain was on Duan Zhengchun's face. In a hoarse voice, he said, I unforgivably wronged your master. Wan-er, you... Mu Wanqing asked, Why? From what I've seen, you have a kind disposition, and are a good person. Duan Zhengchun said, Your master has never told you her name. Mu Wanqing said, My master told me that she is called the Guest of the Secluded Valley. Her real name or her surname, I have no idea. Duan Zhengchun softly repeated to himself, Guest of the Secluded Valley. Guest of the Secluded Valley. Suddenly he remembered Du Fu's poem, Beautiful Maiden. Every single word in the poem suddenly tingled in his heart. A peerless beauty, residing in an empty valley, she proclaims herself as being from a good family, but is fallen like rotted trees or decayed grass. Her husband is a philanderer, and his new woman is as beautiful as jade. Hearing the new woman laugh, the previous wife can but cry. After a long time, he asked again, "How has your master lived her life all these years? Where have you lived?" Mu Wanqing replied, "My master and I have lived in a deep valley, which was hidden behind a tall mountain. My master said that it was called the Secluded Valley. It wasn't until now that the two of us left it." Duan Zhengchun said, "Who are your parents? Your master never told you." Mu Wanqing said, "My master told me that I am an orphan who was abandoned by my parents. She found me by the side of a road and took me in and raised me." Duan Zhengchun asked, "Do you hate your mother and father?" Mu Wanqing inclined her head. She lightly bit at the pinky of her left hand. Seeing this, Duan Zhengchun felt a boundless distress in his heart. Mu Wanqing saw two large tears rolled down his face. Very much surprised, she asked, "Why are you crying?" Duan Zhengchun turned his face away, drying his tears. With a strong laugh, he said, "How was I crying? I drank too much. The alcohol is taking effect." Mu Wanqing didn't believe him. "I clearly saw you cry. Only women cry. Men cry as well? I've never seen a male cry, besides little children." Hey, what's up, Bigfoot? Nice of you to join. Duan Zhengchun saw that she was inexperienced with worldly affairs and felt even more miserable. "Warner, in the future, I promise to take good care of you. I will try to make up for my past mistakes. If there's anything you desire, just let me know, and I will definitely obtain it for you." Mu Wanqing had just shot poisoned quarrels towards his wife. She was feeling very worried, but upon hearing Duan Zhengchun's words, happily said, "I shot quarrels towards your wife. You aren't going to blame me?" Duan Zhengchun said, "It is as you yourself said. A master's benevolence is very profound. A master's orders cannot be disobeyed. The affairs of the previous generation have nothing to do with you. Naturally, I won't blame you, but you must never be disrespectful to my wife again." Mu Wanqing asked, "In the future, if my master starts to ask questions, what shall I say?" Duan Zhengchun said, "Take me to see your master. I'll personally explain to her." Mu Wanqing clapped her hands. "Great, great!" But immediately she wrinkled for her forehead. "My master often says that all men are people who are faithless and unkind. She never meets men." A strange expression flashed across Duan Zhengchun's face. "Your master never meets with men?" Mu Wanqing said, "Yes. Whenever my master needs rice or salt, she always has Granny Liang go to shop for her. Once when Granny Liang was sick, she had her son do it instead. Master was extremely angry. She ordered him to place it far away outside and would not allow him to enter the room." Duan Zhengchun sighed. Hongmian, Hongmian, why must you make your own life so miserable?" Real men may cry super manly tears. True, true. My tears are super manly. They're very muscly. Mu Wanqing said, "You said the words Hongmian again. Who exactly is Hongmian?" Duan Zhengchun hesitated for a moment. "This can't be hidden from you forever. Your master's real name is Qin Hongmian. Her nickname is the Asura Saber." Mu Wanqing nodded. "Ah, no wonder your wife, upon seeing me shoot out those short quarrels, asked me in such an angry manner as to what my relationship was with the Asura Saber, Qin Hongmian. At that time, I really didn't know. I wasn't trying to deceive her on purpose. So my master's name is Qin Hongmian. That's a very pretty name. I don't know why she didn't tell me." Duan Zhengchun said, "I hurt your arm just a while ago. Does it still pain you?" Mu Wanqing saw that a warm, caring expression was on his face. She smiled slightly. It's much better now. Let's go take a look at your son, okay? I'm afraid that the toxin on the quarrel won't disappear immediately. Duan Zhengchun said, all right. As he stood up, he added, if there's anything you desire, just tell me. Suddenly, Mu Wanqing flushed as a blushing red colored her face. Lowering her head, she said, I'm just afraid that I shot quarrels towards your wife, and she'll resent me. Duan Zhengchun said, let's slowly beg her forgiveness. Maybe in the future she won't be so angry. Mu Wanqing said, I'm not the type of person who begs others, but for the sake of my darling Duan, it's no big deal to beg her. She suddenly summoned all her courage and said, self-subduing prince, if I tell you my wish, will you really achieve it for me? Duan Zhengchun said, so long as it is within my power, I will definitely make your wish become a reality. Mu Wanqing said, the words you have said, you can't go back on. A slight smile appeared on his face. Duan Zhengchun walked to her side. Extending his hand, he lightly stroked her hair. His eyes overflowing with love, he said, I naturally won't go back on my word. Mu Wanqing said, you must make sure my marriage with him goes through. Don't let him renege on it. After saying this, her face glowed radiantly. The expression on Duan Zhengchun's face immediately changed. He slowly backed away and sat down in a chair. Quite some time passed without him saying a single word. Mu Wanqing felt something was amiss. Her body quivering, she said, You won't allow it? Duan Zhengchun said, you definitely cannot marry Yu. His voice was sluggish and slow, but the tone was extremely certain. Mu Wanqing's heart froze. Sadly, she said, why? He personally agreed to marry me. Duan Zhengchun only replied, karmic sin, karmic sin. Mu Wanqing said, if he doesn't want me, I will kill him, then kill myself. I swore a heavy oath in front of my master. Duan Zhengchun slowly shook his head. Can't. Mu Wanqing impatiently said, I'm going to ask him right now. Why can't I? Duan Zhengchun said, he himself doesn't know. He saw the look of intense suffering on Mu Wanqing's face, identical to the expression which would appear on the face of Qin Hongmian 18 years ago, when she received the sad news of the passing of a beloved person. He could no longer hold himself back, and the words rushed out of him. You may not marry Yu, and you may not kill him either. Mu Wanqing said, why? Because Duan Yu is your brother by blood. Ah! I think we all saw that coming. Okay. This guy is such a player. Oh my god. How many women? Mu Wanqing's eyes widened. She could hardly believe her ears. Her voice shaking, she said, What? You're telling me Duan Yu is my mother? I screwed that up. You're telling me Duan Yu is my brother? Duan Zhengchun said, Honor, do you know who your master is? She is your birth mother. I am your father. Mu Wanqing was both terror-stricken and furious. Not a hint of color could be seen on her face. Stamping her feet, she said, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Suddenly, a female voice let out a long sigh from outside the window. Waner, let's go home. Mu Wanqing suddenly came to her senses and called out, Master! The window suddenly opened. Outside stood a middle-aged woman. She had a sharp face and two slender eyebrows. Her appearance was extremely attractive, but in her eyes was a mixture of stubbornness and maliciousness. Guan Yu is 0-2. 0-2. Or 2 out of 2, depending on how you look at it. He found 2 sisters in like a couple of weeks, right? 2 long lost sisters. Good for him. Good for Guan Yu. Such a lucky man. Duan Zhengchun saw that his former lover, Qin Hongmian, had suddenly appeared. He was filled with a mixture of surprise and joy. He called out, Hongmian, Hongmian, these past few years, I've missed you so painfully. Wait. Dude, you have a wife. Why would you say that? Qin Hongmian called out, Wanderer, come out. A home belonging to such a heartless, faithless man. We can't even stay here as guests. Seeing the expressions on Duan Zhengchun and Qin Hongmian's faces, Mu Wanqing's heart grew still colder. Master, he lied to me. He said you are my mother, and that he is my father. Qin Hongmian replied, Your mother died long ago. Your father is also dead. Duan Zhengchun rushed to the window. Hongmian, come in. Let me gaze upon you a bit longer. Don't leave me. Let's always be together from now on. Qin Hongmian's gaze suddenly brightened, and she happily replied, You just said that we'd always be together from now on. Are these words of yours sincere? Duan Zhengchun replied, Absolutely. Hongmian, there hasn't been a single day that passed where I did not think of you. Oh no. Qin Hongmian said, You can bear parting with Dao Baifeng? Duan Zhengchun hesitated, unable to respond. An awkward expression appeared on his face. Qin Hongmian said, If you have any pity at all for your daughter, come with me now. You must never think of Dao Baifeng again, and you must never come back here. Listening to the two speak, Mu Wanqing felt her heart sink lower and lower. Tears began to gather at the corner of her eyes. The forms of both her master and Duan Zhengchun appeared only as blurs. She knew that the two people standing before her really were her parents. Even if she wanted to deny it, she couldn't. These past few days, she had truly fallen deep in love. But it turned out that the man of her dreams, her darling, Duan, was actually her stepbrother, who had the same father but a different mother. Technically half-brother, not just step. Stepbrother is not related. Half-brother is related by one parent. Her dreams of flying together like mandarin ducks, of growing old white hairs together, all evaporated like mist. She heard Duan Zhengchun gently respond, But I am the south-subduing prince of Dali. I administer critical affairs of state, both civil and military. I can't leave for even a day. Only to hear Qin Hongmian harshly say, 18 years ago, these were the words you used. Now today, 18 years later, you are using the same words. Duan Zhengchun! Oh, Duan Zhengchun, you heartless, faithless man! I hate you so much! There's so much love in that sentence. Suddenly, from the rooftops of eastern rooms could be heard 3 pa sounds of palms being exchanged. From the west as well could be heard the sounds of people exchanging palms. Immediately afterwards, Gao Shengtai and Chu Wanli's voices said simultaneously, Assassins! Brothers! Remain on guard! At your positions! Do not act harshly, or do not act rashly. Qin Hongmian loudly shouted, Wanderer, you still aren't coming out. Wait. Wanderer, you still aren't coming out? Mu Wanqing replied, Yes. She flew out of the building from the window, throwing herself in the arms of this woman, who doubled as her birth mother and as her benevolent master. Duan Zhengchun said, Hongmian, Are you really going to just leave me like this? An extreme sense of misery and bitterness permeated his voice. Chin Hongmian's voice suddenly turned soft and gentle. Brother Chun, you've been a prince for decades now. Haven't you had enough? Come with me. From now on, I'll be obedient to you and listen to your every word. I won't dare to curse at you even slightly or hit you a single time. Look at our adorable daughter. Can you possibly not cherish her? Duan Zhengchun was suddenly moved and blurted out without thinking, well, all right, I'll go with you. This guy. Like father, like son. Shin Hongmian was ecstatic. She stretched out her right hand and waited for him to take it. Suddenly, a female voice rang out icily behind them. Marshall's sister, you've been deceived by him once again. He'll humor you a few days. After that, he'll go back to being the prince here. Turning his head, shock filled Duan Zhengchun's heart. He called out, Bao Bao! It's you! You came as well! Mu Wanqing turned her head. She saw that the woman who spoke wore a green silk blouse. It was Madame Zhong of the 10,000 Calamity Gorge. So this is Zhong Ling's mother. Her own martial uncle, the lovely Yaksha Gan Bao Bao. 4 people stood behind her. One was Ye Erniang, another was Yun Zhonghe, and the third was Divine Crocodile of the Southern Seas, who had so recently arrived and departed. What surprised her all the more was that the 4th person was Duan Yu. The Divine Croc's big, meaty hand was clamped on his neck. Whenever he wanted to, he could snap Duan Yu's neck. Mu Wanqing called out, My darling Duan, are you all right? Are you all right? Duan Yu had been resting in bed, slipping in and out of consciousness. He had been abducted from his room by the Divine Crocodile. He hadn't been poisoned at all. The lethality of Mu Wanqing's poisoned quarrels rested in the word poison, and not in the quarrel. A minor quarrel wound would cause him no real harm. Stunned into wakefulness by his abduction, he overheard the conversation between his father, Mu Wanqing, and Qin Hongmian. Although he didn't hear everything, he managed to guess 80 or 90% of it. Hearing Mu Wanqing continue to address him as her darling Duan, sourness filled his heart. Little sister, from now on, there will be sibling love between the two of us. Things will be the same. Mu Wanqing angrily replied, No, it isn't the same. You are the first man to ever see my face. But she suddenly remembered that both of them were sired by Duan Zhengchun. Brothers and sisters cannot wed. If anyone in the world had tried to disrupt her marriage, she could shoot out those poisoned quarrels and kill them. But the thing which was preventing her marriage was natural law and the will of heaven. No matter how high her martial arts level was, or how great her power, there was no way to get around it. Suddenly, she felt that everything around her had turned to gray ash. With a kick of her legs, she rapidly began to run away. Shin Hongmian urgently called, Waner, where are you going? Mu Wanqing didn't even care about her master now. She said, You harmed me. I'm not going to pay attention to you anymore. And she sped up her footsteps. All right. Well, that was a big revelation. All right, give me 5 minutes. We'll take a break. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. All right, big revelations. Big revelations. So, looks like Mu Wanqing and Duan Yu are half siblings. All right. And it seems like his father, Duan Zhengchun, has at least 4 lovers, right? At least 4. Does he have more? I don't know. But at least 4. 3 of them are here at the same time. No, wait. 2 of them are here at the same time. And things are getting very awkward. All right. And then So Mu Wanqing was very sad. She runs away. And let's see what happens. Duan Zhengchun saw that his son had been taken captive by the divine crocodile and had no idea where his daughter had run off to. Extending a finger, he struck towards the divine crocodile. Yu Erniang intercepted him and with a palm of her own, chopping towards his wrist veins. Duan Zhengchun flipped his hand, reversing it into a hooking attack. With a laugh, Yu Erniang flicked her middle finger towards the back of his hand. Within the blink of an eye, these two pugilists had exchanged 3 stances. In his mind, Duan Zhengchun was secretly startled. So this bitch is this powerful? Extending her hand, Qin Hongmian reached out and pressed her palm against the top of Duan Yu's head. She called out, "Do you want to preserve your son's life or not?" Shocked, Duan Zhengchun stayed his hand. He knew that she had always had a terrible temper. She hated his wife, Dao Baifeng, to the core. He feared that in her anger she might exert her strength and take Duan Yu's life. That was some impressive timing? What do you mean? Why was that impressive timing? I just came back after the song. He hurriedly replied, "Hongmian, my son was struck by your daughter's poison arrows. His wounds are not light." Qin Hongmian replied, "He's already taken the antidote. He won't die. I'm going to take him away from here for now. I want to see if you want to be the prince more, or if you want your son more." The divine crocodile laughed uproariously. "In the end, this kid will still have to take me as his master." Duan Zhengchun replied, "Hongmian, I'll agree to anything. Just let go of my son." The love which Qin Hongmian felt for Duan Zhengchun hadn't waned even a little in the 18 years which had passed. Hearing him speak so anxiously, her heart softened. "You really will agree to anything?" Duan Zhengchun replied, Yes. Madame Zhong interjected, "Martial sister, are you going to believe the words of this heartless man again? Mr. Yue number 2, let's go." The divine crocodile straightened his body. While carrying Duan Yu, he suddenly rose in the air. In the blink of an eye, he landed on the roof of the adjoining room. Immediately afterwards, Yu Erniang and Yun Zhonghe followed him. Then each struck a palace guardsman, then threw them to the ground. These people, just killing guards everywhere. Why? Madame Zhong called out, "Duan Zhengchun, are we going to have a fight today?" If Duan Zhengchun summoned all the forces in his palace, he wouldn't necessarily be unable to defeat these people, but his son had fallen into their hands. It would be difficult to obtain victory via force of arms. Not to mention the relationship between him and the 2 sisters standing before him was anything but ordinary. In a soft voice, he said, "Bao Bao, you've also come to make things difficult for me." Madame Zhong replied, "I am the wife of Zhong Wan Chou. What type of nonsense are you speaking? You have no right to address me in such a way." Duan Zhengchun said, "Bao Bao, all these years I've often been thinking of you." He's been thinking of everyone. Madame Zhong's eyes suddenly reddened. "That day I found out that Duan Yu was your son. My heart was filled with such agony." Her voice had softened as well. Qin Hongmian called out, "Martial sister, are you going to fall for his lies?" Madame Zhong pulled at Qin Hongmian's hand and yelled, "All right, let's go." Turning her head, she said, "If you come pay your respects at the 10,000 Calamities Gorge, holding Dao Baifeng's head in your hand, maybe we'll return your son to you." All right, so they want him to kill his wife. Duan Zhengchun said, "The 10,000 Calamities Gorge? He saw that the divine croc was getting farther and farther away, and that Gao Shengtai and Chu Wanli were leading men to intercept him from all sides. With a sigh, Duan Zhengchun called out, "Worthy brother Gao, let them go." Gao Shengtai called back, "But the young prince?" Duan Zhengchun replied, "We'll slowly think of a way to get him back." As he was speaking, he flew to Gao Shengtai's side. He called out, "The assassins have retreated. Everyone, return to your original position." With a sway of his body, he then arrived next to Madame Zhong. In a soft voice, he said, "Bao Bao, have you been well these past years?" Madame Zhong replied, "Why wouldn't I be well?" Noiselessly, Duan Zhengchun sent out a silent finger and struck her on her Jiangmen acupoint at her waist. Madame Zhong didn't manage to react in time, and her body immediately turned soft. Duan Zhengchun stretched out his left hand and caught her. Pretending to be alarmed, he called out, "Oh no! Bao Bao, what happened?" Qin Hongmian was unaware of the trickery which had just occurred. She rushed over to their side and asked, "Martial sister, are you all right?" Duan Zhengchun then struck out with his yi-yang finger and sealed off the Jiangmen acupoint on her waist as well. Their vital acupoints struck. Qin Hongmian and Madame Zhong were now trapped in Duan Zhengchun's embrace, and he hugged one of them with each hand. One of them with each arm. The two simultaneously cast him hateful glares, thinking to themselves, "Tricked by him again. Am I really as silly as this? All my life I've been deceived by him. At a critical point such as this, I still wasn't vigilant against him." Duan Zhengchun called out, "Worthy brother Gao, your internal injuries haven't fully healed yet. Hurry back to your room and rest. Wan Li, you take command of the guards and have them remain vigilant." Gao Shengtai and Chu Wanli bowed and obeyed. Clasping one woman under each arm, Duan Zhengchun returned with them to the insides of the warm pavilion. He ordered the cooks and maids to restart the banquet, once more preparing cups and plates. After everyone else retired, Duan Zhengchun struck the Huantiao and Chu Chuan acupoints on the two women's legs, preventing them from walking. Then, with a smile, he released the Jiangmen acupoint on their waist. Qin Hongmian shouted loudly, "Duan Zhengchun, you are still trying to bully people!" Duan Zhengchun turned around and clasped his hands to greet them. "I am sorry for my offense. I'll offer you my apologies right here and now." Qin Hongmian angrily responded, "Who wants your apologies? Release us immediately." Duan Zhengchun replied, "The three of us haven't met for over 10 years. It's rare that we meet like this. We have countless things to say to each other. Hongmian, you're always so impetuous. Bao Bao, you're even more beautiful than before. You look as though you are even younger than when we were together in the past." Madame Zhong did not reply. Qin Hongmian angrily said, "Let me go now. So my martial sister is even more beautiful than before? I guess that means I'm even uglier and more freakish than before. Why would you want to stare at an ugly old hag like me?" Duan Zhengchun quickly replied, "Oh, Hongmian, take a look in a mirror and see for yourself. If you are an ugly old hag, then when those literary men write essays describing peerless beauties, they would have to include the line of a face which can mesmerize fish and geese, bearing the appearance of an ugly old hag." Qin Hongmian couldn't help but let out a laugh. She was about to stamp her foot coquettishly, but her legs were paralyzed. Her anger renewed, she replied, "Nobody came here to exchange jokes with you, grinning and smiling like an idiotic monkey. What type of a prince are you?" Is he really trying to get laid right now? He's trying for a threesome, okay? He's shooting his shot. Under the candlelight, Duan Zhengchun saw the angry expression on her face and suddenly recalled one evening long ago. His heart was suddenly moved, and he walked forwards and kissed her on the cheek. Qin Hongmian's upper body was not paralyzed, and with a clear cracking sound, she slapped him on the face. If Duan Zhengchun had wanted to dodge, it wouldn't be difficult at all, but he purposefully let her hit him. In a low voice, he whispered by her ear, "To die beneath the Asura sabers, even as a ghost, I would roam carefree." Shin Hongmian's entire body trembled. Tears began to flow down her face, and she began to cry loudly. You are saying these lascivious words again. In the past, Qin Hongmian wielded a pair of Asura sabers as she roamed the Jianghu, which is why her nickname became the Asura Saber. The day she gave herself to Duan Zhengchun, he had kissed her on the cheek, and she had slapped him on the face. His response was precisely the same two lines which he just uttered. To die beneath the Asura sabers, even as a ghost, I would roam carefree. These words had been replayed in her heart thousands of times. At this moment, hearing him once more say these words, she felt both happy and angry, sweet and bitter, as 100 emotions flooded her. Madame Zhong said in a low voice, "Martial's sister, this fellow excels in using sweet and honeyed words to please others. Are you really going to fall for it again?" Shin Hongmian said, Right. I'll never believe your lies again." These words were directed towards Duan Zhengchun. Duan Zhengchun walked to Madame Zhong's side. Laughing, he said, "Oh, Bao Bao, let me kiss your face as well. Will you allow me to?" Madame Zhong replied in a stately voice, "I am a married woman. I will not allow anyone to ruin the good name of my husband. If you so much as touch me, I will immediately bite my tongue off and swallow it, suffocating myself and dying in front of you." Wow. Seeing the cold expression on her face and hearing how resolute and unhesitating her words were, Duan Zhengchun didn't dare to behave with such impropriety. He asked Bao Bao, "What type of a husband did you marry yourself to?" Madame Zhong said, "My husband is ugly in appearance and has a strange temperament, inferior martial arts compared to you, inferior talent compared to you, and certainly does not have your richest and glorious life. But he does love me wholeheartedly, and I treat him the same way. If I, Gan Bao Bao, do anything to betray him, let heaven punish me and the earth extinguish me, and let 10,000 calamities prevent me from being reincarnated. I'll tell you something right now. The place where I live with him is called the 10,000 Calamities Gorge. The name comes from this deathly oath I have sworn." Okay. Duan Zhengchun couldn't help but feel respect in his heart, and no longer dared to bring up their old love from bygone days. But even though he no longer spoke of it, he saw that Gan Bao Bao's white, tender face was as beautiful as it was in the past, as was her slightly lifted cherry red lips. How could he forget about their former passion? Hearing how devoted she was to her husband from her speech, he couldn't help but feel sourness in his heart. He let out a long sigh. "Bao Bao, I am an unlucky man. I don't have the fortune to be treated so well by you. Initially, I knew you before he did. Alas, it is my own fault." Madame Zhong heard the desolate sound of his voice and the profound, sincere emotions in it. These words were not said to deceive her. Once again, her eyes reddened. The three people silently faced each other, all of their thoughts wandering to the past. In all three of their hearts was a mixture of joy and sorrow. After a long while, Duan Zhengchun gently asked, "You've kidnapped my son. Why, Bao Bao? Where's your 10,000 Calamities Gorge?" From outside the window, a grating voice said, "Do not tell him." Duan Zhengchun was startled and thought to himself, Chu Wanli and the others are standing guard outside. How did this person manage to sneak his way in? Madame Zhong's face dropped. "Your injuries aren't healed yet. What are you doing here?" Oh no, I think we know who that is. Following her words, a female voice rang out. Oh. Mr. Zhong, please enter. Upon hearing this voice, Duan Zhengchun was even more surprised. He couldn't help but blush fiercely, his face turning red all the way to his ears. The curtained door to the warm pavilion was parted, and Dao Baifeng walked in. A furious expression was on her face, and behind her followed an exceptionally ugly man with a long, horse-like face. As it turned out, Qin Hongmian's mission of assassination in Gusu was a failure, and she was parted from her beloved daughter. Consequently, as had been agreed upon, she came south to Dali to visit with her martial sister. The Wang family of Gusu sent Granny Ray and Granny Ping to pursue and attack Mu Wanqing. Oh, that's what happened. But because Qin Hongmian fell behind by a bit, her journey was peaceful and undisturbed. After arriving at the 10,000 Calamities Gorge, in order to ascertain the situation, she came out with Madame Zhong. On the road, she came upon the three evils, Yu Erniang, the divine crocodile of the southern seas, and Yun Zhonghe. These three evils had been invited by Zhong Wanchou to help assist him in his efforts against Duan Zhengchun, and immediately began discussing the situation with Madame Zhong. Naturally, the matter of the divine crocodile having accepted Duan Yu as his master was glossed over. Upon hearing that Mu Wanqing was suddenly residing within Dali's south-subduing palace, Qin Hongmian immediately accompanied them to the palace. Zhong Wanchou loved his wife even more than his own life, and was an extremely jealous person to begin with. Ever since she had left, he had been very restless and could not find any peace of mind. He no longer cared that his injury was as yet not fully healed, and secretly left at midnight to follow her. Outside the south-subduing palace, he ran into Dao Baifeng, who was about to leave. Both were filled with a belly full of anger. Each began to insult the other, and soon the two came to blows. After fighting for some time, Dao Baifeng was slowly finding it hard to sustain herself. Then, suddenly, a person dressed in black flitted past, her face covered with sobs. It was Mu Wanqing. Both of them called out to her, but she ignored them both and fled. Zhong Wanchou shouted, "I'm going to find my wife. I don't have the time to spare fighting you." Dao Baifeng asked, "Where are you going to find your wife?" Zhong Wanchou replied, "The home of Duan Zhengchun, that thieving dog. If my wife meets up with him, everything will become disastrous." Dao Baifeng asked him, "Why will everything become disastrous?" Zhong Wanchou replied, "Duan Zhengchun is full of sweet and honeyed words. He's a pretty boy who knows how to deceive women. I definitely must kill him." Dao Baifeng thought to herself, "Zhengchun is in his 40s now and has a large beard. How can he be considered a pretty boy? But he really does have a playboy's heart. This horse-faced man's words can't be ignored." Inquiring as to who his wife was, she realized that the person was Gan Bao Bao. She knew long ago that the lovely yaksha, Gan Bao Bao, was one of her husband's former flames. Her jealousy became all the greater, and she immediately accompanied Zhong Wanchou and returned to the palace. Even though the palace was tightly guarded, upon seeing the princess, the guardsmen would naturally give way, and so the two easily made their way to the warm pavilion without a single person issuing a warning call. The words which Duan Zhengchun had said to Gan Bao Bao and Qin Hongmian, his teasing and his flirting, had been heard by both of them from outside the window. Oh no. Listening, Dao Baifeng was so infuriated that her chest felt as though it would explode. Zhong Wanchou, on the other hand, listening to how properly his wife behaved, was filled with ecstatic joy. Zhong Wanchou rushed to his wife's side, filled with affection and happiness. He winded around her multiple times and said, "Bao Bao, thank you. Thank you for being so good to me. If he dares to bully you, I'll fight to the death with him." A long time passed before he realized that his wife's acupoints had been sealed. Turning his head, he barked towards Duan Zhengchun. Hurry up and unseal my wife's acupoints. Duan Zhengchun replied, My son has been abducted by you. Once you release my son, I naturally will release your lady wife. Zhong Wanshou stretched out his hands and struck the acupoints on his wife's waist. But no matter how he pinched or struck, he was unable to unseal them. Although his internal energy was very strong, the technique behind the Duan family's Yi-Yang finger was unparalleled under heaven, and outsiders could not hope to counter it. He exerted so much effort that all his muscles bulged. So we can see that the Duan family's Yi-Yang finger technique is super powerful, right? One of the most powerful techniques in the martial arts world, I would say. Madame Zhong was pinched and struck by him repeatedly, causing her to feel both ticklish and pained, but the sealed acupoint on her leg wasn't even slightly opened. Madame Zhong furiously said, You idiot! Stop making a fool out of yourself! Zhong Wanshou angrily stopped his efforts. His fury bottled up. With nowhere to go, he exploded. Duan Zhengchun, come and fucking fight with me for 300 stances! Grinding his fists and stretching out his palms, he was about to go forward and start fighting. Madame Zhong said coldly, Prince Duan, your son has been kidnapped by the divine crocodile and the others. Even if my husband wanted them to release him, these evil people might not necessarily do so. Let me and my martial sister go back and wait for a chance to rescue him. This could conceivably work. At the very least, I can keep them from mistreating your son. Duan Zhengchun shook his head. I can't trust in that. Mr. Zhong, go back home. Come back to me with my son, and I will release your wife to you. Zhong Wanshou was infuriated and loudly roared, Your self-subduing palace is a shameless place. If my wife is left here, she will be subject to 10,000 dangers. Duan Zhengchun's face reddened. He shouted out, If such rude words continue to spew forth from your mouth, do not blame me for being discourteous as well. After entering the room, Dao Baifeng didn't say a single word. Now she suddenly spoke. What is the purpose behind you keeping these two women here? Is it really for you, or is it for your own sake? Duan Zhengchun let out a sigh. Even if you do not trust me. He pointed backwards and struck Qin Hongmian's waist, unsealing her acupoint. Taking another step, he struck towards Madame Zhong's waist as well. But Zhong Wanshou stepped between his wife and Duan Zhengchun. Shaking his two hands hurriedly, he yelled loudly, You are a sly and sneaky chap. You are an expert at taking advantage of women. You aren't allowed to touch my wife's body at all. Duan Zhengchun laughed bitterly. Although my acupoint sealing skill is shallow and superficial, outsiders cannot break it easily. If too much time passes, I'm afraid that Madame Zhong's legs will become permanently crippled. Zhong Wanshou angrily retorted, My beautiful flower-like wife, as precious as a piece of jade, is currently in perfectly good health. If she becomes a cripple, I'll tear your bastard dog's son into 1,000 pieces. Duan Zhengchun laughed. You want me to unseal her acupoint, but you won't let me touch her body. What exactly do you want me to do? Zhong Wanshou was speechless for a moment. Suddenly, he let out an indignant shout. Who told you to seal my wife's acupoint? Wait, crap. When you sealed her acupoints, you already touched her body. I'm going to poke your wife's body as well. Madame Zhong glared at him. She angrily said, You're talking rubbish again. Aren't you afraid of others laughing at you? Zhong Wanshou said, What's there to laugh at? I refuse to let others take such a big advantage over me. Just as the dispute was at its noisiest, the curtained door was parted, and a man wearing a yellow satin gown entered. 3 long strands of a beard was on his face, which was fine and attractive. It was the emperor of Dali, Duan Zhengming. Oh no. Now the emperor comes. Let's see what happens. Oh wait, we can't. It's halfway. I think we're done. We're done. We'll continue next week, guys. Wow, did you guys like this chapter? Some big revelations in this chapter, okay? Big revelations. So Duan Yu and Mu Wanqing are half siblings. Mu Wanqing is super sad. But it seems like Duan Yu was taking it pretty well, right? He accepted it right away. And he was like, oh no, we shouldn't be talking like that. We should be like brothers and sisters. It turns out, and it also turns out that his dad is a super player, and he has 4 women at least, right? 4 lovers. He said poke. Yeah, and none of them are happy that he is such a philanderer when he was younger. And now they've kidnapped Duan Yu. The 3 evils or the 4 evils have kidnapped Duan Yu, and we're not sure how to get him back. Oh wait, cheers. All right. I hope you guys like that. Thanks for joining. I love you, and I will see you next week. 4 that we know of, correct? 4, at least 4. At least 4. Wait, Bigfoot, you can relate so much to this chapter. What do you mean? You also fell in love with your sister? All right. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we're good. See you next week. Bye.